Welcome back to the FloTrack podcast. I'm Kevin Sully, and back from his trip to Stillwater, Oklahoma, Gordon Mack. How was it out there?
It was an adventure, to say. It was a very short trip. I was probably gone for 25 hours total, in and out. It was, there's a lot of things that went wrong, but I was able to survive and I got through it and I was able to cover the meet. So it's kind of funny. Like on the surface, everyone thinks, oh, he went there, got the interviews, filmed the race, done. That was all that happened. But it was a lot more complicated of a day than people may think it was.
Do you want to go into that, or do you just want to stick to the race stuff?
No. I think so. So this isn't the first ever like COVID race I've covered, I guess, right? So I got permission to come to the meet like a week out, and that's why I was like, I wasn't sure if I was going. I bought the ticket, and then the day of my flight was at 4:30 p.m. on Friday. I get a text or I get an email saying that like due to COVID restrictions, I have to stay on the path and I can't be on the course. And I was like, can't be on the course. It's a giant field. Like, how am I going to like? I was like, how am I going to film it? Like, how can I get on the cart if I can't be on the course? So I quickly text back and be like, hey, can I be? I thought I could be on the cart. And they're like, do you have a COVID test? And I'm like, well, I took one in July. And they're like, well, only people on the cart needs to have a negative COVID test within 24 hours of the competition. I'm like, what? There's a freaking COVID cart rule. So I'm like freaking out. So like, again, it's like 11 a.m. right now on a Friday. Flight is at 4:30. I asked like, can I get one when I land? And they're like, no, they're all gone for today. I'm like, all right. So I start Googling COVID tests, and I see like places that's like 100-minute wait. I'm like, this isn't good. And then I try to Google rapid COVID tests, and I find this one company or like this one place, and I'm searching. They have a bunch of places in Austin, and all of them are booked except for one place in Cedar Falls, Texas for $1,240. I'm like, all right, got it. Boom. They take insurance, so we're good. I book a $1,240 appointment. I look on my phone. I see how far away it is. It says it's 15 minutes. I'm like, great. I got to eat lunch. So I make my chicken tacos because I don't want the chicken to go bad because I bought it early in the week and I got to finish the chicken.
Look at you, Mr. Responsible. I like it.
Yeah, so I have to. So I start cooking the chicken tacos because like I have time. It's only 15 minutes away. Finish chicken tacos. I eat it. I put the place in my phone because I looked it up how far away it is on your laptop. But when you look it up on your phone, it was 30 minutes away. And I was like, shit, I'm going to be late. So I'm like, all right, I got to go. So I'm leaving at 12:30 for a 12:40 appointment. I'm screwed. I'm driving. I have zero gas. Like my car's on empty. Like it's like below the letter E. It's like it's on G. Right? It's like past F, G. It's like it's bad. And I have to drive 30 minutes away. So I'm freaking out about that. I called the place, tell them, hey, I'm going to be late. They're like, all right, it's fine. I'm all right. So I get there at 20 minutes late. I rush in and I'm like, hey, I gave you guys a call, gave you a heads up. I'm the 12:40 appointment. And they're like, yeah, we're going to have to reschedule you because we're all going to lunch right now. So we're going to have to reschedule you for another day.
Oh.
And I'm like, another day? No, you don't say I have a flight. She's like, oh, okay. Well, we'll look at this if there's any availability in other places. So she starts doing the whole airport person typing for 20 minutes. She's like, sorry, everything's booked up. Friday's a really popular day to get COVID tests. I'm like, why is Friday a popular day to get COVID tests? I'm like, no sense. So I'm freaking out because I'm like, you don't understand. I'm not sick. I just need to prove that I'm not sick so I can do my job. And they're like, okay, we'll see if we can fit you in at 2:00. I'm like, all right. And then she walks back and I see her walk back, talk to the person. It's like, can you do them at 2? And he's like, I'll just do it right now. It takes probably 70 seconds, 45 seconds to do. I was like, yeah, you could do me. It wasn't, they didn't even have to rebook me for Monday. It was stupid. Anyway, I get the test.
Hold on. Let me stop for a second. Let me predict what's going to happen next. The person behind the curtain is Mike Smith.
No.
Oh, all right. And it wasn't all a prank?
No.
Dang it. Okay.
No, it wasn't all a prank. I get the test.
Dang it. All right.
I'm negative. I'm like, sweet, I'm good. I get on the plane. I get the gas. Everything's great. I land in Tulsa, pitch black. I drive 90 miles per hour in a pickup truck because you can in Texas. I mean, in Oklahoma. I'm starving. I eat KFC for dinner like a sad individual. I get to the hotel late. Mike Smith is there. I'm staying at the same hotel as NAU. Hang out with Mike. I hang out with Mike in the lobby. We like hang out, have a good chat till, late night chat, and then go to bed, wake up, go to the course. Course is nice, man. Have you ever, it is not what, the new one?
No, not the new one, but I mean, it's the same spot,
the new one
right?
Is like,
they just took out the
same
they
spot.
Widened it.
Yeah, it's just no wood chips. It's just all grass. It's super like pristine. It's like, yeah. Like it reminds me of like it's a combination. It's like it's like the Nutty Comb course. It's like super well kept. A lot of great rolling, like a lot of interesting hills. So I thought it was a really nice course. Anyway, get there to course on the cart, film the races, which is hard to do because I'm trying to hold a hand. I have a handicap. So this is also annoying. Oklahoma State had another person with like a whole like rig and like a stabilizing camera, like fancy camera. And I just had this like yinky dinky handheld from 2014, probably from earlier. I think it was Alex Lore's old camera that I still have. And I'm like holding on to it, trying to keep it steady. I'm freaking out that it's going to be shaky. I don't think it was that shaky. I think I did a good job filming it. It wasn't that shaky. I filmed. Yeah, it was good. I do the interviews. And here's the thing about doing interviews with athletes. Why is it that there's the one person you want to interview is the one who takes the longest to cool down? Like I want to do an interview with Whittni Orton and Taylor Rowe, who went 1-2. Their entire teammates, who all ran the same distance as them, they all were already packed up, sweats on, done, cool down, ready to go. And those are the two people of all the people in the world who still are cooling down. And it's like, how does this happen?
Why That's a pro move, though. That's a pro move by them. It's like how LeBron's like the last person to get dressed out of the locker room because he knows everybody's waiting on them. I like that move. I didn't expect it from those two at this point in their career, but if that's what they're going for, I like it.
But like if you have they had like 10 plus women run on each team, and all 9 of the others were all done, and it was the one of this is like, all right. Anyway, get the interviews. A lot of them are kind of windy, but you can get through it. It's hard to interview people in the wind. So now here's the thing. So I'm like, all right, I got to get this stuff up. It's like I'm an hour and a half away from Tulsa to get back home. My flight's at 2:00. It's like noon right now. I'm like, all right, I got to go. But I also have these videos and I had to get them uploaded. So I quickly run to the car and I start editing the race footage so I can put like a clock on it. And then I'm like, all right, I'll export it while I drive. So I edit it, start the export, start driving. Computer dies because of battery power. I'm like, shit. So now my computer's dead. Start driving. I got up to 100 miles per hour, man, on the pickup truck. It was wild. It was also windy. There was a point where the car almost fell over because I was going too fast. So I slowed down a bit. Jeez. Here's the thing. You got to get a gas station. Here's the thing about Tulsa. They have like 50 gas stations in Tulsa, which is a lot, right? They're all over the place. But all of them are fake gas stations. Have you ever gone to a fake gas station?
No. What is that?
Have you ever been to a fake? So you go there and you're like, all right, I'm at a gas station. And then it says you have to prepay inside. And like the pump looks really sketchy. It looks like it was made in the 1940s. It's like really weird. And I'm like, this doesn't seem real. Like all of like the signage is like broken. It was really sketchy. And I didn't want to do it. So I had to go to the third gas station I found, get the gas, get on the plane. I upload the stuff because it has really good internet at the Tulsa airport. Thank you. Upload the stuff, get on the plane by 2 minutes, home by 6, eat pasta, go to bed. That was my 25 hours.
Wow. Well, when you were there, I know you asked people this, but what did you feel? Did it feel like a regular cross country meet?
Yeah, 100%. There wasn't It just felt like everyone was just wearing a mask, but it was kind of like there was a lot of performative theater, right? Like they made sure the athletes weren't standing next to each other on the starting line. It's like, all right, this is great. And then 2 seconds later, they're all going to run near each other.
10 teams. There's only like 10 teams, right? So they could space them out pretty easy. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the meet, it was beautiful weather, so that was nice. But the meet was very typical cross country meet. There were fans there. There was family and friends. And Oklahoma State men, man, they kind of showed up and put together a good race. You could tell that they were fired up for this. They're like, this is our chance to really put ourselves back on the map. They have an opportunity to go up against NAU and BYU, and they went for it. I was impressed with what Oklahoma State did. What were your thoughts on the race?
So the official scores: NAU 36 for the men, Oak State 42, and then BYU 59. But then you rescored it, adding in Shumway.
If you had Shumway and you had in Colorado, it becomes 43 NAU, 50 BYU, 51 Oklahoma State.
Okay. Which makes sense. Yeah, I think the revelation, if there was one, was just that Oklahoma State's definitely much improved from last year. I had all these big conclusions about this meet, and I was prepared to come to this podcast and lay them out for you. But then I realized it is October 19th, and the NCAA Cross Country Championships are going to be in the middle of March. So how many months is that away? That's over 5.5 months. So that would be like looking at the NCAA Outdoor Championships and saying, cross country right around the corner. It does feel like it's a little too soon. And the results in January and February, even if they're on indoor tracks, are going to be a lot more helpful to figuring out what's going on. So, I mean, big picture, obviously, for BYU, Klinger's back, right? He's not going to get in worse shape between now and March. He's only going to get in better shape because he had the 2-year mission, and he's competing again. And that was his first cross-country race in 3 years, correct?
Yeah.
So that's good signs for. I think there was good signs for all three of those big teams. For NAU, it appears that Grijalva hasn't slowed down at all, and they still were able to start a new win streak, even though they didn't have Nico Young. And then Oklahoma State just getting that pack in there. They looked pretty good. There was a drop off between 4 and 5, which was they could have won this thing probably if they had a smaller split from 4 to 5. But I think all three of those teams have something that they can take away from this that was positive.
One thing, BYU, they obviously have a good 1-2 punch. Shumway shows that like when he's where he'll be All-American guy based on his performance here. BYU though, Garnica didn't run well. Matt Owens didn't run well. Aiden Troutner, who's like their new guy, didn't run that well. I'm guessing it could have been fitness. Maybe they're coming off an injury. Again, we're 5 months away, so you cannot run well 5 months out from running well. But they didn't. Their guys, Garnica and Owens, who we thought would be part of their core 5, where they finished in like the 40s or 50s. So that wasn't a good sign for them. On NAU side, they didn't run Blaze, Farrow, Theo Quacks, or Nico Young. I was most surprised by 2 freshmen on NAU's side. Corey Gorgas, who's a redshirt freshman, was, I think, their number 3 man. And then their number 7 guy was a true freshman, Santiago something. He's from Alaska. He's like a Alaska
Prosser
dude who is Prosser, yeah. But Corey Gorgas, who was their number 3 man, he finished like 13th or 14th or something like that range. But his last 2K was like the 5th fastest in the field, which I thought was kind of interesting. So like he closed really well. And it just shows that like NAU has so much talent. I mean, when they just add 2 more freshmen, right? They also have Nico Young. Like they're just gonna like. I was doing the math based on like their eligibility. We forget that they ran 4 freshmen in their championship team last year, right? 1, 2 freshmen, 3 redshirt freshmen. Yeah. But like that's not normal to have like 4 freshmen on a squad. Typically you have 1 or 2 on like a top tier team, which means that there's 4 slots most likely taken up for the next now 4 years because everyone gets an extra year, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's only 17. That means there's only 3 extra slots now to go. You still have your older guys like Grijalva, Ryan Raff in the mix, Blaze Farrow, and then we're now going to also introduce newer guys like Nico Young. You look at like this year's recruiting class. I was thinking about it. NAU's top recruit this year might not be good enough to make top 7 until his senior year, which is crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're joining NAU now, it is going to be hard to be in their top 7 because they have like 12 plus guys who will be around for a long time who are top 7 worthy. I just thought it was interesting. Like NAU is pretty much.
But if you're going to NAU, you're pretty good. So you have, I think if you go into NAU, you have the ability, because I don't think anybody would have been like Santiago Prosser, that guy's top 7. But just by the fact that you're going, I think
that's true.
Leads some argument that you could make the top 7.
Yeah. I guess like BYU. I mean, I guess they replaced after they lost their big 3. But a lot of times, a lot of teams have like their 4 seniors or like their 3 seniors, and like, all right, now we're trying to work our way back.
Yeah.
NAU just has so much depth; it's like insane. Anyway, and then Oklahoma State, they ran well. Isai Rodriguez was in it. He was like pushing the pace late in the race, but they kind of fell off. So maybe his fitness isn't up to par with the Mantzes and Grijalvas of this world. But Isai should be a good low stick for him. It'll be cool if he can win NCAA title his senior. So because Oklahoma State will host 2022 and everyone's given an extra year of eligibility, Isai is a junior this year, right? So he'll get to be a junior next year, which means he'll be able to be a senior in 2022 on his home course. So we could see a Morgan McDonald-esque like win on your home course type thing. We could do it twice.
You could do it twice.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's going to win in March, but
he looked. I mean, he looked like he needs more racing, more training, more time, but he was up there. This is so far away from competition. I share your feelings about NAU and just being impressed by the depth that they have and the possible combinations. You think, oh, well, Bosley should have been higher up there, or Nur should have been higher up there. But then you're also like, well, wait, Corey Gorgas is 13th in the race. He's ahead of Oklahoma State's 5th guy, and he's ahead of BYU's 4th guy. Even if you throw Shumway in there, that's a good option to have. That this guy's already cracking the top 5 of some of these other really good teams. Not much to worry about there. With BYU, I think you may disagree with me here, but I think I would have rather come out of this weekend knowing that I had a completely solid top 2 that can finish in the top 10 than if I came out of this region or this weekend with a good top 5, like a balanced top 5, but questions about Klinger and Shumway. So I think that like the fact that Klinger answered that question and Shumway is back from injury, because this is going to be one at the top. I think this is going to be one in those. Though the difference between Klinger getting 10th and the difference between Klinger getting 40th is huge towards this team score. They're BYU. They'll figure out 4 and 5, but they have 3 real special guys.
And the Nico Young factor, based on
who is that?
conversations, we should expect Nico most likely will be the number 2 runner on NAU. That's how good he is, apparently. So if like BYU has the Klinger Mance 1-2 punch, we should expect NAU to be a Grijalva Young 1-2 punch to kind of to counteract BYU's top 2. Based on what I've heard, that Nico probably would have finished in the top 5 in that race.
Yeah. Well, I think they're gonna need somebody up there. They won't be able to just have Grijalva up there. And I think you brought up a good point with Grijalva when you're doing that interview in the middle of a wind tunnel about this is the first cross-country course or cross-country race he's won because his teammates have always been so good. Remember on the track, was it that Stanford B race? Or maybe it was an A race. He had that big kick at Stanford Invite. Like I remember him winning that, and then of course, BU, right? He won that race BU indoors this past year. But other than that, he hasn't had his moment. And I think just as we were waiting on the seniors to perform for NAU last year to see if they could do it when the pressure was on, I think that, or the senior, I guess, in the case of Beamish, I think that's going to be the case with Grijalva. He's going to have to do it when it counts. You can't count on the young guys. Like you can't count on Nico Young being a top 10 guy at NCAAs as a true freshman. You just can't. You can't. He may be able to do it, and that's a bonus, but you need your experienced guy to show up. So he's still got to do it when it counts. I would still take I still would favor Mance in a race just because we've seen Mance do it time and time again in the championship setting right now.
Let me tell you, Grijalva looked like he was just like running sleeping while sleeping. He was just waiting. All right, I'm just gonna chill here, and then I'll make the pass with 25 meters to go. He looked so comfortable the entire time. And I know Mance always looks like he's uncomfortable, right? That's like his body language. He always looks like he's falling over. So, that can be a little bit deceiving. But I think Grijalva, I don't know. I'd be right now maybe willing to put Grijalva as the favorite. I mean, the only other person out there that I think can challenge Mance right now is Grijalva. And then I think the Iowa State kid and maybe Amoyne Kemboy from Arkansas. I think outside of that, that's like the big four. I can't really think of another person because Isai Rodriguez is kind of off a bit right now, right? But I really can't. I mean, who do I have ranked individually in my preseason?
You gotta update these COVID era rankings too, Gordon.
Oh, I will.
Get these going.
Yeah. So my preseason rankings,
Kevin.
My preseason rankings was 1 Mance, 2 Amoyne Kemboy, 3 Rodriguez, 4 Grijalva. And then I had 5 Cooper Tier and then 6 Wesley Kiptoo. So Kiptoo clearly is better than 6th, we think. Cooper Tier, I guess, is still in the mix. But, I mean, Grijalva should finish. I think Grijalva could win.
I think he could win. I think he could win. All I'm saying is we need to respect what Mance has done, not just in cross, but indoor and out. The guy's piled up so many solid, consistent performances when the pressure has been on. And this is 5 months out, so I'm not going to put too much weight in who had the best kick 5 months before the championship season. And my point about BYU, my point about BYU is just like you want to see how many legit top 10 guys you have. And there was reasonable questions about how good Klinger was going to be when he came back, and he answered that emphatically. So you're like, okay, don't need to worry about Klinger. Don't need to worry about Mance. Shumway, you're right, looks solid for a top 30, maybe top 25 guy. And now you have all this depth, and you have all this time, and all you have to do is figure out your 4 and 5. They're in a good spot. NAU's in a good spot, though, too, and so is Oklahoma State. So I don't leave this weekend with any huge conclusions other than that. I know Lincoln's going to leave this weekend thinking that Oklahoma State is now a title favorite because he just puts on the orange and black every weekend to cheer for his squad. But I'm not going to get too carried away with it because it is 5 months away.
I do want to say, I mean, we're talking about NAU and BYU. The other meet that happened, I mean, Arkansas ran really well. I mean, again, they didn't run against good competition, but they scored 29 points versus Ole Miss's 50. They ran at the Blazer Classic. So Amoyne Kemboy won. He ran 23-25. And then they went 1, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. They had a 13-second spread among the top 5. They had a 15-second spread among their top 6. I think Arkansas, like Amoyne Kemboy, is going to be up there with Grijalva and and Mance. So Arkansas's number 1 is all canceled out with NAU and BYU. Arkansas's number 2, Emmanuel Chebosin, is good. He's a 1340 guy. He got 4th in this race by he got fourth, but he only lost by like a half a second to first.
Yeah.
So Arkansas has a 1-2 punch to go with Grijalva and Young and versus Klinger and Mance. And then Arkansas, they have Luke Mead, who's a transfer from Furman, Andrew Cabet, who's this JUCO guy, Gilbert Boyd, who's another JUCO guy, I think, and then Matt Young, and Jacob McLeod, Belmont guy.
Yeah.
Arkansas might crash a party. They're showing that they have it. I mean, they have 6 guys. So
look, you sold me on them. You've been talking about them for a while now. So you've definitely sold me on them. And it feels a little bit like the women's team race from last year when you had Stanford, Arkansas, and BYU, who were all going runner for runner. And I like that. That was cooler than just having 2 teams, because now you have another wild card thrown in the mix there with Arkansas. So I'm excited to see it. What did you think? You said the course was hard. It looked hilly just from the way you were doing your excellent filming on the cart, and you could hear the guy in the video saying uphill coming, downhill coming, and he was saying it an awful lot. It looked a lot hillier than Wisconsin and a lot hillier than Terre Haute.
Yeah, I was talking to some of the athletes, or maybe the coach who was talking to the athletes, and they were saying how like there's a lot of like deceiving parts of the course where there's parts that feel too easy, and then all of a sudden it feels too hard, and like it's not like a consistent like feeling of like how this course is gonna play out for you. So like you could go in and be like, after a mile, you're like, man, this is hard, right? But then at like 3 mile, you're like, oh, this isn't that bad. And then at mile 4, you're like, oh man, this is really hard again, and kind of messes with you mentally. So I think there is going to be an advantage to teams that have run on this course. So Iowa State, Oklahoma State, obviously, BYU, NAU, and Colorado unattached. Because if they don't have another meet hosted here in the winter, knowing what it's like to run this course, I think is going to be an advantage for these teams. So Arkansas, you kind of wish Arkansas would have showed up to this meet, because that if they're in it to win it, they should want to be prepared for it. But Arkansas, they might have run on this course. Did they run on it last year? I guess no, only the Midwest schools have run on this course, because the course opened up with the Midwest Regional last year. So
right.
There's been only 3 meets at this course. So
are they going to try to do one in January, February? Did you talk to Dave Smith?
He said he didn't know, but there's a chance maybe not, right? You don't know, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I did do a lot of talking with what were you say?
No, I was just going to say I was trying to get a feel for what's January and February going to look like in cross country. And I know the West Coast Conference is going to have their championship on February 20th, and Pac-12 is planning to have one in the beginning of March. But I don't know what else is on the schedule in terms of meets other than here's our conference championship, and then the rest of the time is just going to be indoors. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how it's going to work out when it comes time to actually writing a schedule.
Yeah, I think there might be a few invites that pop up. Like, do you think Nuttycombe will happen? Maybe.
Yeah, I wonder with the weather if they're going to want to do it.
Yeah, that's true.
But if anybody's going to do another meet, I would think it would be Oak State, and they'd say, let's get another opportunity. Let's get, I don't know, maybe you could do it. Maybe I don't know, but then you want a bunch of teams to go, and then that's sort of tough logistically to figure it out. But what were you saying before about you were talking to people about something?
I was talking to we were talking about the elephant in the room, which is indoors, and like I was making a joke, like what if NAU, they know they're going to get picked, right? So they know they're going to qualify for the meet, and they have so much depth, and they all get to do an extra year of eligibility, right? Like Luis Grijalva is a senior, but he gets to run in next year as well in cross. So, hey, why not go all in on indoors? It's going to be a weaker field on the distance races.
But doesn't this year count? This year wouldn't count even in March for like if you run in the NCAA cross country championships, that doesn't burn your cross country eligibility.
Nope, doesn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, everyone, all the fall athletes get another year, and all the winter athletes get another year. Anyway, so
what you just said go all in on indoors, and that's when I shut my ears off. So go ahead.
No, but like think about it. You go all in on indoors, and then you run like your B team, maybe a B+ team at cross, and like just be like, hey.
I think
but like, if you're Luis Grijalva, would you? I guess would you rather be super fresh for cross country 10K, do a 5K 10K double, or do a 5K 3K double, and score 20 points and maybe win?
I do the 5K 10K double and win the team title. I don't understand why. Why can we do 5K 10K doubles on the track when there's one day apart? But then the idea of doing it with track and cross country is blasphemy. I don't understand. What's the difference?
Well, the difference here is that NAU might be able to win the indoor championship if they choose to run Luis Grijalva in the 3K instead of,
Wait. How is that going to happen? Jordy Beamish got secret. Jordy Beamish has secret eligibility I don't know about. How
it's going to happen? A lot of Yared Nuguse is going to be like, hey, yeah, we're not doing indoors. We're focusing on cross. Oh, there's another person that's not running the 3K. There's going to be a weaker field in the 3K mile and 5K. That the whole idea, NAU was about to win it in a deep field. Now they could have even a better shot at winning it in a lighter field.
They had more people last year, though.
They have a lot of people still this year.
Who's their miler?
Theo Quacks. He's a 357 guy.
I mean,
all right,
no disrespect to Theo Quacks. He's not Jordy Beamish. He's not Jordy Beamish.
Yeah, but no disrespect. All right, so let's look at who's the top.
Your calculations last year. Your calculations last year were predicated on NAU getting a lot of 10s and 8s out of these races, and Beamish is in that range because he'd won it before. But some of these other guys are not going to get 10 points.
Okay, let's look at the top milers. Joe Klecker, gone. Charlie Hunter of Oregon, is he gone? Maybe. I don't know. Cooper Tier, he's not going to do the mile. Yared Nuguse, he's not going to do the mile. Oliver Hoare is gone. Carlos Villarreal is gone. Jordy Beamish is gone. Kirian Tuntevid is gone. James West is probably gone. So you have Walid Suleiman, Ryan Adams, Sam Ellis, George Kush, and Theo. Like, I think Theo Quacks can beat Walid Suleiman. And Suleiman's probably going to go all in on cross. Like, all these guys are going to go all in on cross. Like, it's really just going to be George Kush versus Theo Quacks.
You're right, because the descending order list from the year before never changes. That's right. There'll be no
I know.
other.
You know what I'm trying to say.
A 357 mile will be fast enough. I know what you're trying to say. They're a cross country school. They should win cross country. But in the case of someone like Grijalva, if he's in a position to win an indoor title, he should try to do both because I think he could do both. And it's a weird year and he should go for it. But the other people are outside the top 16 or maybe they're the 16th guy. Like if you had a situation where didn't Ryan Raff make it in the final spot last year?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So someone like him, maybe I'd scratch him out of indoors because I would say, hey, you're a long shot to score points, so we're going to keep you fresh and go for the cross-country title, and we need you as an important cross-country piece. Someone like Grijalva, I don't think you can take championship opportunities off the board from people. Just as if you can double, you should double. And I think that's what he'll do. I think that's what most people
If you're Grijalva, would you do a 5K, 10K, or would you do 3K, 10K?
Depends. So is the schedule the same? Are we pretending the schedule's the same?
Yeah, so 5K's on Friday, 3K's on Saturday.
And then cross-country's on Monday? I would probably do the 3K, give myself an extra day if everything else is even. Yeah. I mean, he's pretty good in the 3K. Or sorry, 5K.
Well, 3K would be one less day.
Yeah,
You'd do 5K with one extra day?
Yeah.
So then who's going to run the 3K? That's what I'm saying.
For NAU? I don't have NAU's roster.
No, for anyone.
I don't know.
How many people who will run if you just said, oh yeah, he'll just like Connor Mance, I'm not going to do a 3K, I'll do the 5K. If all the cross country guys are like, we'll do a 5K, 10K double, the 3K all of a sudden it's going to be super watered down, right? Don't you think that will happen?
This is me guessing. I'm not a coach. I mean, there'll be.
Yeah.
I mean, Iowa State, Mr. Bangura will do something. Rodriguez will do something. The Arkansas guys that you're speaking so highly of will get in there. There'll be Oregon will have. They're always well represented in the 3,000. I think they'll have a couple guys in there. Washington will have people. I don't.
But like, will Cooper Tier do the 3K? He'll be like, oh no, I want to try to do well in cross country, right?
No, I think based on what Robert Johnson is saying, they're going to put emphasis on indoors. I think they are going to go heavy on indoors, and whatever's left they'll send to cross country. It's just not that many people that it impacts, because how many people are really in contention for a national title? It's not that big. But I just think it's weird that people are saying this can't be done when they're 90 minutes apart, these two cities. It's not like they're flying across the country.
Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward. And you're saying if it's a Friday 5K and then Saturday, Sunday off, and then Monday, that's an extra day from what they get in track. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not do it?
Do you think though it's going to be like when we look at the cross country results and we like say Connor Mantz gets 9th. He has a bad day at cross country and gets 9th. Yeah. But he ran the 5K and finished 2nd in indoors, right? Do you think we're going to have the interview like, yeah, maybe I probably shouldn't have ran that 5K. Maybe I wouldn't have finished 9th here. I would have finished better in the cross country race if I didn't have that 5K in my legs. Like, is all the athletes who are doubling just going to have like,
but do they say that in track? Excuse? I don't hear that much in track.
They don't say that in track, but I think it's because like, but has there ever been a cross country race that you're not fresh for, right? Like that's the
correct. Yes, that's the thing is these cross country races need a 3-week runway to prepare for, according to every college coach, and you can't race a lot. Whereas in track, it's like, oh, yep, did the steeple 20 minutes ago. Let's put her in the 5K. She's good to go. We need the team points. Let her rip. Let's do it. Yeah, that's part of it. That's part of it. That's part of the game. That's part of the strategy. That's why it's fun to figure it out. And you can second guess if you want to, or you can look at it as, hey, I maximize my opportunities. Mantz said something to you that was pretty revealing. He said he always does better in his second race anyway. So he'll look at it probably as an advantage. You probably didn't hear that because he had his T-shirt wrapped around his face in what was the worst attempt of a mask of the weekend. That was just amazing. Amazing work by Connor Mantz. Lincoln actually sent it to me. He didn't send it to you. He'll have to put it in the group chat. He photoshopped a cowboy hat on Mantz's head with the shirt, so he looked like he was about to go
to the saloon
and engage in a duel at high noon or something. Women's race
took the dual meat literally. Yeah.
See, that's good. Women's race, Whittni Orton got the win. BYU rolled. Not really much competition for them, and apparently they took a long time to cool down. The top two women, Orton and Rowe, according to your reporting.
Yeah. Oklahoma State, I mean, Taylor Summers ran in the race, but isn't 100% healthy. And also Molly Bourne isn't going to be back because we're like Taylor Rowe. That's not one of the two that top 20 last year across. Yeah. I think Bourne's is coming off an injury. So is Summers. So if Summers and Bourne can get back to their normal self, like All-American self, now you add in Taylor Rowe, that's going to be a really good 1-2-3 punch for Oklahoma State in March. If we have the meet. I was impressed with what Rowe did. I remember talking to her in an interview. I asked her if she felt out of her element. She says, yeah, at moments I was like, wait a minute. Like, this isn't like I'm running neck and neck with Whittni Orton, like a 840 something 3K runner. So that was interesting to see her. She just like put herself in it, didn't let herself feel like she was not allowed to be there. She held her own for as long as possible, but obviously Whittni Orton, who is the second best cross country runner in the nation right now, behind Kaladi.
Yeah,
it made sense for her to just win it in the end.
Did you see resemblance in Orton and Luis Grijalva from the men's race and how they handled it?
Yeah, a little bit. Whitney went a little sooner. She broke Rowe a little sooner in the race. like maybe 1K out. Grijalva literally never made any move. Like it was Isai making a move, and then it was Mance making the move, and Grijalva was like, "I'm not making a move until I see the finish line." So, so that was the only difference. Orton made a move earlier than what Grijalva did. So,
yeah, it was big though. She put 11 seconds on her in that last stretch. That was it went from being competitive. If you didn't know the result ahead of time, you're like, "Oh, this is going to go down to the wire," and then it was over before you knew it. Yeah, good run for BYU. They went 1-3-5-6-7. So really not much competition.
Yeah. The NAU women were supposed to be there, but they got a positive. They got a positive COVID test, so they couldn't go.
Gotcha.
But it turned out it was a fake positive.
The old Nick
but
Saban.
Due to like bureaucratic like technicality, they weren't able to go. So
they probably would have gotten second, right? Southern Utah ends up getting second with 62. I think NAU would have been in there. But that was my point last week when I said you got to take this meet somewhat seriously if it's used for qualification purposes, because you never know when something like that's going to happen where they can't race. On the men's side, I think NAU, BYU, and Oklahoma State are obviously now safe, and the BYU women are obviously, we've seen enough based on what they've done, that I think they pretty much just need to throw something out there in January and February and they would be fine. Did you get a sense talking to the coaches about the qualification process? Did you get any more insight on that?
No, didn't really ask about that.
You're still not on the committee?
Not on the committee. But think about this. Southern Utah beat the unattached Colorado guys. So you have a feeling that the committee is going to send Colorado to nationals, right? So then Southern Utah's like, if you're sending Colorado, you have to send us. We beat them straight up. Again, Colorado didn't run two of their guys, but, there's going to be a lot of what's that?
Who did Colorado not run? Oh, because Sean Harrison and was there somebody?
Steven Jones,
it's hard to tell.
Who's a Mississippi State transfer.
Because they're mixing in guys who don't have eligibility anymore. They're just trying to make it confusing.
Yeah, first off. But the whole selection is going to be weird, especially if we don't have regular season meets. Like, are we just going to go off of, like, we're all right, Pac-12 is good, so let's send a top 4 teams from there or something? Like, there's just going to be a lot of teams who are going to complain and be like, hey, or are they going to, like, look at, like, aggregate indoor track times? Like, hey, let's take your 5K average from indoor or something like that. Like, it'd be interesting how they decide.
I'm interested, too, in the teams that are doing their conference championship this fall, and they're not going to do a second one. They're going to be forgotten about a bit. Hey, back in October, we won the ACC. Oh, yep, definitely. You're in. You're definitely in. But you talk about putting money in the bank early on. I think it's going to end up working itself out. I think the problem, they're going to pick the first 8 to 10 teams real easily because those teams are really going to demonstrate how good they are. And then it's going to be tough trying to separate those 21 remaining teams. But you mentioned that that's sort of the case every year. You could throw a blanket over that group.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, we were talking about, just to bring up indoor a bit, I'm hearing, like, how do you think they're going to do? So there are, a little bit of sources say, that like, that in order to do indoor track, they're going to have to do a bubble system. So like the American Conference, they have one indoor track, Houston. I'm hearing that they might think about doing a 3-week bubble or 3-weekend bubble where they do, I'm not sure how many teams are in the conference, what there are 11 or 12 teams in the conference. Say there's 12, I think. They would do like 3 days in a row of 3 different quad meets. So you have a quad meet, and they're able to then all come that same weekend and social distance by having not a lot of kids in the Houston track, and then do that again 2 weeks later, And I think that conferences are going to be trying to do this. Like, they're going to be like, hey, we can't do the days of 5,000 people at the BU invite. We need to come up with a strategy within the conference to have basically bubble track and field. Like, I think bubble track and field is going to be a thing. American Conference is looking to do it. I'm sure other conferences are going to follow suit. And it's all going to be run by conferences that have indoor tracks. I was talking to NAU. I was talking to Mike Smith. The NAU track isn't going to be there because football is going to have it. I think there's another Idaho State won't have theirs because of football. They're only going to have one indoor track in the Big Sky Conference, which will be Montana State. So there's just going to be the situation where it's going to be a rush for finding your bubble and then closing the doors and not letting anyone else in. So Houston will, hey, we're only letting American Conference teams in. SEC will probably do it. ACC will probably do it. So it'll be interesting.
Do you think like musical chairs.
Yeah. Do you think a bubble indoor track will be the thing? Do you think that'll work?
It seems to be the best of all the bad options available because conferences are already setting these protocols for regular team sports. So I could totally see where an administrator would say, wait, we're in the Big 12. Why do you want to fly to UW and Boston to run in these meets? Like, we don't know what their conference's policies are. Just compete with your conference. For sprints and for field events where you're not as concerned with the field size, pacing and all that stuff, I think it could work, and it might be the best way to do it. And at least it provides equity throughout the conference. You can't get equity throughout the nation, but at least you could say, hey, in our conference, we had 3 or 4 opportunities for these athletes to compete. And if they get a top 16 time, they're going to go to the indoor championships. I'm just wondering how the indoor championships would work, though. Like, this is all to get to the indoor meet. But how is that going to work given the restrictions? I guess we'd have to look at the state and local regulations. But this is all well and good, but where they're going to, is that possible? Or is like indoor track, the NCAA championship is going to be spread out over a week? Today is 100-meter day or 60-meter day, and then tomorrow we're on the 200. Because how quickly do you, say the max capacity is like 100. How quickly do you get to 100 at a track meet with teams small of the country? That's such a small group unless you're having them wait outside in the in the cold or something until they compete. That everybody has a trainer, everybody has the SID, everybody has the assistant coach. It's a lot to work out. But I think that's at least what you're talking about with conference or the American Conference is at least makes sense from a regular season standpoint. Now, would they test and everything like that? Is that the other idea?
Yeah, I'm guessing they bring all this. Yeah, they test and they just make it a 3-day weekend where 3 individual meets, right? And I think a lot of these schools have a lot of easy rapid testing. I think it's for most schools it's like $10 to $20 a pop, so it's not that expensive. But
yeah, it would be a return to the olden days of track and field with dual meets.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who are clamoring for quads. I don't think that they thought this would be the way that we would get duals and quads, but you could have a bunch of head-to-head competition. Here's the other part, though, because I just mentioned, right, this is going to be field events, sprints. They can run a fast 60. It doesn't matter who's out there. You could qualify. You may not run the fastest 60 of your life, but if you're an elite sprinter, you could run a qualifying time 60. It's harder for the distance races, obviously, but it's going to force them to go hard. And if this happens, and you're going to see people in these dual and quad meets racing as if it is Peyton Jordan, and maybe they get teammates to help pace them, or maybe they just say, hey, we're just going to go. We got to go hard from the gun in this 5K. I don't know who's going to end up pacing it, but I'm trying to get to nationals here. We're not going to run a 15 flat. It's a waste of time. Like, let's go. So it's going to get very interesting, and it's going to kind of boil track down to its core here, get rid of all the frills, all the bells and whistles, and it's just going to be people going hard from the gun. So it could have that impact as well too.
Yeah, and I think because of it's not going to be the normal way of qualifying, to top 16. I do think that I think the cutoff mark for the 16th and I think the sprint events will still be the same, but a cutoff mark for the DMR, the mile, the 3K, even in the 800 and the 5K is going to be much slower this year than it is in previous years.
Sure.
And I think if you're able to find a way to normalize your qualification in a year where the cutoff is slower, you're going to be able to get more teammates in. Where that's why I think if you have the ability, like what's typically the cutoff in a 3K? 751?
It's like it was really fast last year, right? Yeah,
it was really fast, but it's like in a 750 to 752. I bet you the cutoff in a 3K this year will be like 755.
Yeah.
And think about if you have someone who can run 754, you're like, all right, let's find a way to get in, right? I think that the 5K is normally like 1340. I think the 5K is probably going to be 1350. I just think that people.
But it's going to be hard. It's going to be harder to run those times.
That's true.
So it's going to be like an altitude adjustment almost. It's going to be a bad schedule adjustment where a 1350 in 2021 would have been like a 1340 in any other year because you're not running at BYU or BU. You're not running at UW.
But if you think about it, though, there are certain schools who will be able to make their season normal based off of money and pay, like having teammates that are good pacers. It's like it's gonna be hard for like someone like Alex Masai of Hofstra to take a spot in the top 16, right? Because he's a 1329 guy, whatever. But he only gets in that meet because he's able to join a train of everyone else, right? And so all those like individuals who take those one spots, those are all going to be open slots where the Oregons, the Arkansas, maybe even the NAUs or BYUs are able to get that one extra guy in because the random kid from Hofstra, like I said, or a random kid from South Dakota State or whatever aren't going to make the meet because they're not going to have the luxury of awesome paced races.
But where's Oregon going to go? Oregon's going to go up to UW and run there? Is their facility going to be available with all the other sports that are going on to host a whole bunch of meets?
What if this is Powell's way of being like, who's the captain now, right? He's going to be like, oh, you guys want to go to nationals, huh? Oh, maybe you should have given me a bigger raise at Oregon, and now I wouldn't be here holding the only track you have access to hostage. You know,
he's like, let me look to see if there's space. Nope, we're all filled. Sorry,
6 feet social distancing. See, we take it serious here. We do 8 feet of social distancing, so therefore we have to take one less team, and that team is you. Sorry,
guys.
But like, it could be a strategy. Like Washington could be like, hey, we could get more guys in the meet if we use COVID as a cover to not let the Oregons and Stanfords get qualifiers.
The Big Ten, the Big Ten's
like SEC's doing that. SEC's totally going to do that. They're going to not let anyone go to Arkansas or College Station. Like they're going to be. That's why American Conference is going to have to do what they have to do because they're going to be like, no, we're not going to let Houston in to try to take spots from Florida and A&M and Arkansas. Like it's going to be a dog-eat-dog world of like trying to get access into meets, and they're all just going to use COVID as their shield of their gamemanship of like, oh no, we can't let you in because of COVID, when really we don't want you in because we'll get an extra spot at nationals if we don't let you in. You know,
that's what but where it's gonna get tricky is is your main rival in your conference, or is somebody you want to keep out in your conference, because then you're going to get pressure from the top. Because the ADs and the presidents are just say, hey, let's have a conference-only schedule. So let's make sure all these opportunities are equitable. But the idea that, a Big 12 school, I mean, they got to be calling up Texas Tech right now if you're in the Big 12 and saying, hey, we're over here. We'd love to come to your meet. We'll do whatever you need. We'll help clean the facility afterwards. Same thing with the SEC schools. Big Ten, I mean, Big Ten's got what? Michigan, Iowa's got a facility. I mean, they've used Spire a couple times. Yeah. So I mean, there's a couple in there, but Pac-12, you got You don't got it. You have nothing in Oregon. You have UW.
Well, Pac-12 doesn't even have a conference. Like they don't sponsor indoor.
Yeah. So maybe that makes them they're free agents at that point.
They're free agents. Maybe they can go wherever they want.
Run it in Boulder, get that altitude conversion. I don't know. That seems really hard. It seems really difficult to pull off. Anyway, we'll leave it there. Lots to think about, lots to talk about. Lincoln and I will be back tomorrow because I know you guys were thinking, hey, why didn't they talk about the World Half? Well, we're saving Lincoln for that because last week he talked about Joshua Cheptegei. He's blowing away the field, and it turns out Joshua Cheptegei didn't medal. So I wanted to wait until he came on so he'd be held accountable.
That's what happens when you don't. That's what happens when you don't have wave-like technology. You just finish outside the top 3.
No lights confused him. But he did get the Oklahoma State pick correctly. So props to him for that. Thank you to Alon for producing. Thank you to Gordon, who went through hell to come back to do this podcast with all that first information from Stillwater. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.